If you've been a watcher of TVO current affairs programming over the past quarter century, you will surely recognize Eric Margolis. Eric, of course, has been a frequent contributor to our foreign affairs coverage. What you may not know is that along with his wife Dana, the couple have devoted themselves to rescuing animals in distress all over the world. And so we've invited Dana and Eric Margolis to our studio to learn more about their efforts. It is so good to see you again, great helmsman.
It's a tonic to be back, Steve.
And you for the first time ever on this program.
Yes.
Great to have you both here. Eric, people watching this obviously will know about your columns that you wrote. They will know about your books, your punditry on foreign affairs. I'm not sure very many know that this has been an issue near and dear to your heart. Since when?
Oh, many years, but it's been developing in size and intensity. And now that I've given up my business interests, I have more time to devote to helping the plight of animals in distress.
We should say, you were Mr. Jameson Vitamins for many, many years, and you sold that, and so you have time to devote to this. And I'm guessing you're the one who probably helped him see the light on this?
Yes.
Yes. What brings you to this issue?
Well, I've always loved animals, and this is something that is close to my heart. And it was something, I think, that brought Eric and I together. It was a genuine love and compassion for the plight of animals.
It's one thing to love animals, it's another thing to be prepared to spend the sums that you two spend in order to travel halfway around the world and rescue animals in distress. Why that commitment?
Because animals don't choose to be in these situations. They don't choose to be in wars. They don't choose to be exposed to bombings and daily gunfire. And there are so many countries today that are in turmoil. And chances are that there are decrepit, abandoned zoos, and these animals are left to die.
Just to further enhance your bona fides, the two of you have a place here in Toronto, but you don't live there alone. Who do you share the place with, Eric?
Hair, drool. We have all kinds of cats. I'm a great cat lover. I think it was 4 cats now.
We have 3 cats.
3 cats?
We have 3 cats.
And 3 dogs, one of whom is blind and deaf. So that Dana rescued from New York, poor little thing. And we all live together very happily. In fact, as Mark Twain once said, he said, as I get older, I'm convinced that my dogs are going to heaven. I'm just not sure about the rest of my friends.
Well, let us, I want to talk about the Gaza, because one of the projects that you were both deeply involved in was helping rescue animals who were in danger at a zoo in the Gaza Strip, which, as we know, is one of the most unfortunate places anywhere on earth. We've got a little video snippet that we want to set this up with, so we'll play that, and then we'll come back and chat, okay? Sheldon, the clip, please.
We succeeded to get approval from the government to take the animals out of Gaza.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, go. Okay. The lions are in very, very small place. They never touch the grass in their life. So it's very sad.
They are really, really scared in their enclosures.
We will take here the animals which are in bad condition. I speak here mainly about the lions, about the hyena, about the wolves, about the foxes. I speak about the dog and the cats. We will take some birds like the emu, the ostrich, the pelican, the peacock. We will take the porcupine.
Tell us about this operation, because this was 47 animals rescued from a zoo in the Gaza. How did this all come together?
Well, we have a relationship with a group based out of Vienna, Austria, named 4 Paws International.
4 Paws?
Yes.
Appropriately named?
Yes, and they had been in communication with the various governments for a couple of years. They've done some rescues in Gaza before at other zoos. And this zoo is located in Rafah. And they had been negotiating with the owners to attempt to close it down and to take the animals out because the conditions were decrepit. So I had been in communication with my contact, and we decided that we were going to stage an intervention and help close the zoo down permanently.
Eric, why was this particular mission meaningful to you?
Well, I felt heartbroken for these. I don't like to see animals in any zoo, in any cages. I'd like to get rid of all of them except for conserving endangered species. And these poor animals were in a jail within a jail, which is really Gaza, as you said, a miserable place. We had previously worked with Four Paws to rescue the entire zoo in Aleppo, Syria, which was even more fraught because the war there was still going on, and it was a very elaborate operation. We had to negotiate with all kinds of unsavory people, spend bakshish everywhere. We had to hire armed gunmen to escort these animals out through rebel territory. We finally got them into Turkey, and then the fun-loving Turks wanted to keep them. So we had a hell of a time, but at the end of the story, these great Four Paws people who really do God's work, they managed to get all the animals out to Jordan, to a wonderful wildlife sanctuary there called Al-Mawa.
What does that mean?
Sanctuary.
The sanctuary,
yes.
Okay. This Gaza rescue would have been, I presume, particularly complicated because you can't go from Gaza to Jordan without going through Israel. So you need kind of tripartite agreement to do this. How did that happen?
That is due to the stellar negotiation based out of Four Paws International. They were able to get the okay from the Jordanian officials, from Israel, and from Hamas, who are the government in Gaza, to open their borders, to let these people in. It wasn't without some challenges, because when one crosses from one border country into another, vehicles need to be checked, they need to be changed. And it takes a lot of resources and a lot of funding, a lot of negotiations. It depends on who's at the border at that time. You may have an agreement from one entity, but if the border crossings changed, if the officers are different, they may not have gotten the memo.
Eric, you know that region of the world very well. How extraordinary is it to get the Israelis, the Jordanians, and Hamas all on the same page for anything?
It's our one miracle of a lifetime, and we've used it up. It is extraordinary. Kudos to who we saw on the film clip, Dr. Halil, an Egyptian veterinarian who is also a great diplomat, and he managed to talk away not only with the Turks and with the Shiites in Iraq, and a great man. But he managed to get us set up for this. And then just as we were ready to go, and people from Four Paws came from abroad around the globe, all of a sudden somebody fired a rocket from Gaza into Israel, and the Israelis went berserk and started bombing and shelling Gaza again, as they usually do. And Hamas denied any responsibility for it, said it was an accident. And I don't know, it looked like we were going to be plunged into war. And then coming right down the road were the Israeli elections. And so the window of opportunity kept shrinking and shrinking. But somehow Dr. Khalil worked his magic, and we said our prayers, and a little window opened up, and that's when they finally managed to get the animals out of Gaza, across Israel, and then into Jordan. 3 miracles in one.
Now, it's an extremely stressful situation to try to, I mean, I presume some of the animals need to be anesthetized in order to get them out.
Yes.
So there's that. There's the politics involved. There's the moving of the animals, the packing up, the unpacking, and so on. You know, I guess it's worth doing, right? But it's certainly it's a complicated situation, isn't it? How tough is it?
It's very tough, even for these seasoned professionals, and they are professionals. But they have this down to an art. I saw them firsthand. Actually, we both did when we were in Jordan. It is a no-frills operation. They travel bargain basement way. They don't sleep. They drink coffee. Some of them smoke a lot of cigarettes. That's their diet. But they are top grade A at what they do.
No good deed goes unpunished, right? So here's the sort of snippy question about this. Is there any downside to this, in as much as life in the Gaza, Eric, is bleak on the best of days, and this zoo was presumably providing at least some joy to the children who live in the Gaza, and now that zoo is gone? Is that a problem?
You know, now that we have TV everywhere, children, we don't need to keep these animal prisons, as I call zoos, to amuse children. They can just sit and watch the animals on TV rather than torturing these animals, because when you see them up close and you see how imprisonment is driving them insane, you see it with bears, you see it with elephants, it's heartbreaking. And we do this for our sport and pleasure. It is really a crime against nature to keep these beautiful creatures locked up.
What's your view on that?
I agree 100%. These animals are not in their natural habitat. The majority of them, as you probably know, they were smuggled from Egypt into Gaza through some of these tunnels. Tunnels that you can't stand up in, tunnels that grown men have to crawl through. And so they pull these animals through these tunnels, and some of the tunnels are 6 kilometers long, or were 6 kilometers long. So then they get to their end location, and they're stuck in these concrete small cages. They don't touch grass, they don't touch ground, they don't see the sky, and all they do is pace.
So it's a miserable existence.
It's a miserable existence.
It's torture. We're rescuing bears right now in Albania. And it's the same thing. They're kept in little cages in front of restaurants as attractions, or dancing bears. It's terrible.
You did reference the Syrian rescue mission back in 2017, and we do have some photos of that. So let's bring these pictures up, and then we'll have you describe what we're seeing. Take us through this, if you would. What are we looking at here?
This is a lioness who was rescued from the abandoned zoo in Syria. And as you can tell, when she arrived, she was in bad shape. She had open wounds on her body. She was relaxing. She was pregnant. They realized she was pregnant en route, and she gave birth to this little lion.
And the mother and child doing okay?
The mother was fine, and the child didn't make it.
Didn't make it.
No. This is a beautiful tiger. His name was Sultan. And Sultan was in Syria as well. He actually went into cardiac arrest during the rescue out of en route from Turkey to Jordan, and was resuscitated by one of the veterinarians and made it to Jordan. Unfortunately, had kidney disease from years of malnutrition and neglect, and passed away.
And there's our last shot here. What's this?
This is one of the lions from our Syrian rescue, and this is Al-Mawa. And this place, for these animals, is heaven on earth.
This is the sanctuary?
Yes, it is.
In Jordan?
Yes.
Which is presided over by the sister of the King of Jordan.
Aha. So no one's going to mess with this place.
Princess Alia, right. She does a great job. And the animals are terribly mistreated and neglected across the Middle East, except for Israel, where animals live a decent life. And so she runs the Al-Mawa with a stern hand.
When you try to rescue animals in a war zone, there is obviously a great deal of risk, not just to the animals, but obviously to the people who are taking personal risk to get them out. How do you convince people to put their lives at risk to rescue animals?
They are passionate about this cause. They are one of the only groups I have met in this world who are willing to go into war-torn countries to rescue these animals who have been forgotten and neglected and left behind. They're victims of war. And they have compassion, they have true compassion for their cause.
Now, Eric's already told us that sometimes the shelling doesn't stop just because the rescuing is going on. Have any of these people been wounded or killed in the course of trying to rescue animals?
No. However, they're very smart about their rescue. In the case of Syria, there was a security team who went in to rescue the animals. And this security team took 6 hours to get out of Syria when it was actually a half-an-hour drive. That's a story unto itself. But these were individuals who may be well-versed in dealing with war-torn countries.
Are they armed?
Yes.
Have they had to use their weapons?
No.
They have not yet.
No.
Not yet.
Not yet, yeah.
It's a real Rambo type of operation, and, but it's done with full heart by these people. I'm amazed that they're so diligent, and they fly from different parts of the world, and as Dana said, they live on cigarettes and coffee. Sounds like a journalist doing what I used to do in the Middle East myself.
Now, if you're trying, let's do the Gaza operation. If you're trying to rescue 47 animals from Gaza, how long does that take?
There may be a difference between the amount of time it should take and the amount of time they were given.
Okay.
So they had, my understanding is once they entered Gaza, they were there for less than 24 hours. There were 5 people from Four Paws International who were allowed to do this. And a lot of volunteers, local volunteers, stepped up to assist because there were 47 animals that needed to be crated. A lot of them needed to be darted so that they could move them into crates.
Darted means anesthetized.
Anesthetized.
Got it.
And then driven out of Gaza into Israel before the border closed.
And I must say, you know, Hamas on the Palestinian side and Israel, who are usually trying to shoot each other, were remarkably cooperative in this. I don't think the Israelis really wanted to advertise it, but they worked together and they pulled off this small miracle.
Now, the 47 animals that were rescued, is that all of them?
Yes.
They got them all out?
Yes.
And have you been able to sort of check back in with these animals in Jordan and to see how they're doing now?
Yes.
And what's the verdict?
The verdict is good. There were 5 lions that were rescued. So 2 of the lions were immediately flown down to Four Paws Sanctuary based in South Africa.
Huh, okay.
So they're now in South Africa on a 258-acre big cat sanctuary. And the other 3 are at Almawa. And it's beautiful to see. You see them released. They don't know what grass is. They don't know what sunshine is. They've never seen it. They've never felt it. And you can see their true characters starting to come through.
Can I ask you a bit of a, you're such a hard-nosed journalist, and but I want to ask you a nice touchy-feely question here. How does it make you feel when you see what you've been able to achieve here?
It makes me feel good. I'm very happy for the animals, not so much for myself, I meant it, but very happy for the animals, but there's so much more to do. What we're doing is a daily struggle. Go on Facebook and all you see is animals suffering. People approach us for different charities. We do things here in Canada too, and we've been rescuing dogs from Korea who are going to be eaten, and cats. And so it's an endless job. You become a little hardened after a while, but I love doing it. I think it's better than making money.
Well, since you raise money, am I allowed to ask how much your foundation spent to rescue these animals? Well, I'm allowed to ask. You don't have to tell me, but I am allowed to ask.
Well, let's say that's why I'm not driving a Lamborghini.
Okay. All right, good enough. Have you got your eyes fixed on your next mission yet?
Yes.
Can you tell us what it is?
It may be in North America.
Okay, so when you say it may be in North America, I'm going to infer from that it is in North America. And I think people would reasonably ask, it's not a zoo, I presume, right? You're not going to be rescuing any animals out of a zoo. Look at her smile. She doesn't want to tell me too much here. She doesn't want to tell me. She doesn't want to tell me too much, but okay, so let me put it this way. Why would animals in North America, under what circumstances would animals in North America need rescuing?
There are private zoos in North America.
Private zoos?
There are roadside zoos in North America.
Yeah, down south and think Quebec, there are animals in terrible plight. Elephants who are encaged. And look, we had one at the Toronto Zoo, poor elephant. And there's always rescue work to be done.
In your experience, how interested are the various governments around the world that you deal with, how interested are they in solving these animal welfare problems?
If they allow a foreign group, being Four Paws International, to come in at no expense to the government, to take these animals out and to close the zoos down, they get credit for it. And in some cases, rightfully, they should.
Can I add that
Please.
there are a lot of governments, North America in particular, are under a lot of influence from the farm lobby. And the farm lobby hates these kind of animal projects because it considers them the fine wedge of getting into extend animal protection and animal rights. There's no animal protection here in Ontario, one of the most evolved and developed places on earth, and yet the EU has very strong laws. Here we have nothing. And we saw under the former pre-Trudeau government that the government was representing the interests of the farmers who don't like what we're doing. So we struggle.
Do I need to say it? Animals don't vote.
Well, why not? Or contribute.
There you go.
Exactly.
There you go. Okay, one last little snippy question here. There are going to be people watching this who will say they're using their good offices and their resources to help animals. Why not real people? What's the answer to that? Dana.
My answer is that one does not have to be exclusive of the other. So we help animals on a personal level, and we also help people on a personal level. I donate to various humanitarian organizations that I feel very strongly about. So you don't have to choose one or the other.
There's lots of good to be done out there.
You can choose both.
Gotcha. You want a last word, great helmsman?
Yes, I believe that animals are endowed with rights and souls, and they were here. It's their planet too, and that we as humans have a right to. We should be protecting animals rather than using them as slaves and harvesting them.
That is Eric and Dana Margolis, who, on behalf of the Eric S. Margolis Family Foundation, have put their good offices to work to rescue animals all over the world, and we're grateful that you spared some time for us on TVO tonight to tell us all about your work.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is brought to you by the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario, helping businesses stay on the right side of change with strategic thinking, insightful decisions, and business leadership. Are you on the right side of change? Ask an Ontario CPA.